Welcome to Horsehair and Hearsay.
With me, Jen.
And me, Kate. Oh, and Patsy.
Elevating the equine industry with equine tech.
Some law, some insights, impact, and a little bit of canter banter. Hello everyone and welcome to an episode of Horsehair and Hearsay. This is our first one of 2024. I'm Kate and this is Jen. We have a special guest today for our first episode of the year. I'll let Jen introduce.
We're joined today by Matt Carter from Midland Equine Dental Services. Hello, Matt.
Hello.
Hi. To hide our own teeth.
Yeah.
So probably just to explain why Matt's here, Jen obviously suggested that Matt come along and talk to us. How have you come across Matt and why do you think it would be good for us to chat to Matt today?
So we're based in a similar area of the country and we cover a lot of like the similar clients and we share some clients together and so I thought you'd be able to add a bit of insight into your industry because obviously there's some overlap with other professionals.
It might be nice to start because the purpose of our podcast is really so that it's A, interesting hopefully, but B, for people that are starting out, a lot of stuff about compliance and starting out in business and how people start. So I suppose the first question is, why are you a dentist? And why do you do horses? Why do you do horses' teeth? What led you into the industry really?
Well, I always say there was a gap in the market, so I filled it. Which is
Here for the comedy as well.
Horses have always been in the family.
Okay.
I tried my hardest to get away from them, but I think if once they're in your blood, they're in your blood. I tried fish farming, I tried mechanics.
That's really random. Fish farming to being a horse dentist.
Yeah. But my stepbrother was a farrier, so when I was coming back from university doing the fish farming,
I thought you actually studied?
Yes.
Is there a degree
I
in
didn't
fish
know there was a
farming?
degree in fish farming. Well,
Fishery studies and management.
oh gosh.
Down in
Never goes
Winchester.
to school, don't they?
There you go.
When I was coming back from there, I was working with him in the holidays and stuff. And when I decided that was getting all a bit too fishy, I gave up the fish farming and came back. And I was going to be my brother's first apprentice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he was very much a manana sort of person. Never quite got round to it. And then during my time out with him, I saw a dentist working and held a horse for him, sort of for a couple of 3 hours. And he told me some horror stories and how they used to do things back in the day with hacksaws and stuff like that and chisels, which was the tools they had back then. There was none of this motorised stuff, and that got me quite interested. Coming from like a practical sort of background, it got me quite interested in that. Oh, it's something. And then back then, I got on the internet. There was that night, and I asked Jeeves. Back then, way before Google. Asked Jeeves. Yeah, I asked Jeeves, and there was two places to study. One was in Nebraska, and that sounds pretty cold. And one was in West Virginia, so I chose West Virginia.
Wow.
And went out to the States I was backwards and forwards there for probably about 2.5 years.
Are they ahead of us in the States in relation to...
Not anymore.
Okay.
Not anymore. During the last sort of like 25 years, we've gone way in front of them, definitely.
That's interesting.
So do you have people coming from the US to train in the UK?
Not really, there's not that much of a crossover. A lot from Europe, definitely. Yeah, especially with the vets as well. Yeah.
Did you find you had some transferable skills from having studied in general and or did fish farming not really help you? But I suppose from watching your brother, I suppose there's a bit of a crossover with the farrier, even with how you like handle your clients and everything.
That's it, it's like client relationships, you know what I mean, that way, you know what I mean, how to talk to them and when not to talk to them.
Wondering who needs the guy.
That's it, which coffee you can actually drink. That's always the one.
Yeah.
So what does training to do what you do entail now in the UK?
Now in the UK, well, our association, the BADT, there's a full student programme through the association where you find yourself a mentor and then go through, I think it's a 3.5 year to 4 year programme and sit the exam at the end.
So like an apprentice type
apprentice type thing.
Yeah.
But it's not like an official apprenticeship through government.
You can't get the funding for it, is
Yeah. And now that Hartbury College are now starting a degree in this September.
Oh wow, okay.
Another foundation degree, I think, from them. They did run one probably up until about 6 years ago, and I think they did about 3-4 years of it, and then it stopped. I think they're starting again now, so that's another way into the industry.
How many horse dentists are there, roughly, do you know?
Well, I had a quick count this morning. I reckon our association, we've got just over about 150.
It's not many, is it, when you compare it to farriers and likes, and obviously all horses have got teeth and feet.
Yeah, more teeth than feet.
Yeah.
But if you probably think for every one we've got qualified, we've probably got about another 2, probably 3 that aren't qualified doing the job.
In this country?
In this country, yeah. And there's also another association as well, but obviously they're not quite as big as our association.
So for those, you can literally just grab a bucket of tools.
Yeah, probably when I started, you could get the Robinson's catalogue out and you could buy yourself a couple of rasps out of Robinson's catalogue. Wow. And nothing legally, nothing has changed for manual rasping.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the regulatory side of it? Because I suppose it's a bit like when you talk about the other therapies. I suppose there's some things you can do without qualifications and some that you have to. So I think you've just touched on it there. So I suppose is the difference if you're using sort of electronic tools, or what's the difference?
It should be,
Okay.
And that's what we get qualified to do, to use power tools and carry out simple extractions like wolf teeth and digitally loose teeth you can move with your hands. But most of it, to go around and hand rasp, you don't need any qualifications for that at all.
Wow.
But then there are people that are unqualified that do use the power tools as well.
And that's not.
It's just not policed.
So I was going to say, who regulates that? I suppose does your organisation not put in anybody that?
We regulate our members.
But you can't regulate outside of your members.
No.
Because I mean, if you look at some other associations, obviously, even taking solicitors, for example, if somebody holds themselves out to be a solicitor and they're not, or to do something they can't, our regulatory body can go and take action against them, even though they're not members.
Yeah.
And when we look at farriers and stuff, obviously there can be prosecutions against people who are not qualified.
Yeah.
But in your industry, there isn't that kind of regulation.
No. But I'm not sure if the farrier thing, is that not an animal welfare?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I suppose you would potentially be caught by animal welfare acts, because if somebody's potentially removing teeth and things with no qualifications, it might come under animal welfare. But you've got to have people complain about it, haven't you, for it to come to light. So I suppose there are many people under the radar, as it were. What's and I'm probably treading on your toes here. What's your position regarding your obligations to your regulatory body? Do you have to keep records and things like that?
Yes, we have to keep certain records. I don't keep records of all my routine cases. If I spot something that's out of the ordinary, I will document that just so I can keep a track of how it's going, and also for referrals to sort of vets for further advanced work, like fillings, extractions and stuff like that.
Fillings? Do horses have fillings?
Yeah.
No way. No way. Dave's got like 3 missing teeth. Could he have some implants?
We haven't quite got to implants yet.
I do feel a bit sorry for him with his missing bottom teeth.
I've seen a couple of horses that have had like all of their teeth taken out in front.
Yeah,
they can't survive, can't they?
Oh yeah, definitely.
You just
Definitely,
like,
it looks a bit horrific, and obviously the tongue lolls out all the time because there's no teeth there to keep it in. Yes.
Oh.
They're remarkably resilient. I was at the Horses Inside Out conference at the weekend, and is it Chris Pierce?
Yes, Chris.
He was talking and he was doing some. He put some videos. I had to leave in the end. It was a bit grossed me out.
Some extraction videos and stuff like that. Yeah,
like all kinds of gunk in there. So it does look like it gets a bit gruesome. What is, and this is putting you on the spot, what would you say the difference between the dentistry that you guys provide and vets provide?
Not a difficult question, quite an easy one. There's a lot more specialised vets out there now than there used to be. When I started, I used to be going into vet practices and doing extractions and stuff for the vets. Now every veterinary practice has its own dental specialist.
They've spotted
If
there's
you
not
know.
enough dentists.
That's
Yeah.
To tap your market.
You've got it, yeah. So they go on their 2-day course, which makes them an advanced, or specialised, if you like. They can go on to do their advanced certificates and stuff afterwards, which is great. But you normally find those in the bigger practices, like your Crown, 3 counties, those sorts of practices.
More equine.
Yeah, more equine. Yeah. But they're great there for the more advanced procedures, like we said, like for the fillings and stuff.
I'm still
Yeah.
can't believe horses have fillings.
Yeah. But it's it started in 2001 when I went to the States. I did a course on fillings over there. So I was one of the first ones in the country to start doing fillings. There was me and a guy down south. There was only 2 of us. But then when all the regulations changed, they put fillings and that sort of procedure into what we call category 3. And category 3 is for vets only. So now DDTs don't fill teeth anymore. It's just for specialised vets. Which is good. Really.
Do you find, and I suppose this is probably the difference between farriers and dentistry, do you find that people only really come to you when they've got a problem, or do you have quite a lot of clients that just are quite good at, we go to the dentist once a year, this is what we should do with the horse?
Yes, I've been of both really. Not so much. I've got a lot more regulars obviously now. I've been going for like 26 years now.
Giving his age away now.
I started late as well, yeah. So you don't see the horrific cases as much now because there's a lot more dentistry being performed everywhere. You know, to me, when I started, there wasn't a lot. Well, I think there was probably about 6 or 7 of us in the country. You know, doing good dentistry.
It's nothing, is it? For
And most of those would be round your race yards and stuff. You know what I mean? Down south and up in Yorkshire.
Because when you look at, just going back to regulation, I'm thinking about the other side of things now. People don't realise the obligations that they have as an owner of an animal as well, and you do see cases where there are welfare cases for horses not being cared for, and one of the things within the list of issues that has not been properly addressed by the owner is teeth. So I think owners sometimes forget they have an obligation to maintain their horses' teeth as well. I think there's just a lack of awareness, and like you say, you get some very good competition yards and racing places. I mean, us with young ones will go, we better get their teeth checked before we start and eliminate the problems. But a lot of people do forget about teeth, don't they?
It's a lot less now than it used to be. A lot more. I see a lot more clients now who, when I had a pony, you know what I mean, we never had his teeth looked at. And you're here twice a year now. You know what I mean?
Well, even Chris Pierce made the point at the weekend, who said, you know, we can keep referring back to horses in the wild, but realistically they only really live until they're about 12 or 13.
And then a different lifestyle,
Yeah.
a different lifestyle as well, don't they? So you can't compare.
It's one of those myths as well that people commonly say, well, what happens in the wild? They chew on rocks and stuff, don't they, to get the sharp edges off. And no, they don't. They just die earlier. That's all it is. You know what I mean? How old's your horse? Well, he's 16. Well, he'd have popped his clothes 3 years ago in the wild.
And there's myths out there, isn't there, that if you rasp them too much, it'll loosen their teeth. What's your views on that? I think that's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that was my dad's excuse to not pay to have all their teeth done. We can't get their teeth done. I don't go to the dentist.
Once you start doing that, no, you can obviously take too much tooth off.
Yeah.
I mean, there has been a few cases.
Get a
of
good
that
dentist
before.
is the answer to that
That's
one.
it, yeah, exactly. Make sure they're qualified.
And I mean, gosh, obviously with what we do and everything, we didn't understand the difference. So there's definitely a lack of awareness from clients as to.
And he's finding the right practitioner, because if your farrier turns up and he only puts 3 shoes on, you can see that. Hang on a minute, you've only put 3 on here. I mean, once that gag shuts, you don't know in there what he's done at all. You've got to take their word for it.
Yeah, I don't need to put a hand in many letters. Yeah, and I suppose even with like your job, you can see changes physically straight away often if you're alleviating some pain or something. But as you say, teeth, it's very internal, isn't it? So it's So I suppose, how do you reassure the clients as to what you've done? Do you talk them through everything?
Yeah,
or?
try to now and again. I'll get especially the young ones, I like to get their hands in the mouth as well, having a feel, sort of educating them, that's great. And a lot of it's like looking over my shoulder and say, can you see this? Look at that.
Yeah,
And then look at that, the other side, comparing.
Involving them in it.
Trying to, yeah.
And this is always a sticky wick one, but what about sort of main complaints, problems, issues you kind of face in your industry? I don't mean you necessarily personally, but yeah, it's sort of problems that you encounter and how you can kind of protect yourself from those.
I don't think there's many really I encounter. Really.
Because if we look at farriers and we have discussions with them, there's
Yeah.
loads. But I think that the reason for that may be what you've just said, it's more tangible as to what they've done, so you can get clients complaining about a lot more because they can see it, but they're not kind of able to see or. And if everybody feels like they're qualified to look at a horse's foot and see if it's been shod. So do you think that that's a big difference because they can't see?
I suppose a lot of it's how you handle the horse as well. How you are physically handling the horse, you know what I mean? You're not snatching it around, you're not pulling it around, you know what I mean? You're not beating it up, you know what I mean? And obviously how your relationship with the owner as well, you know what I mean? How you're talking to them, you know what I mean? If the horse gets exactly the same treatment, whether it's a gold medal Paralympic horse or whether it's birth in the cob, you know what I mean?
There's still somebody's pride and joy.
They all get the same treatment, but you might talk to birth of the cob a bit differently. You talk to you know what I mean, the Paralympic dressage rider. You know what I mean?
So how long have you run your business for now?
I started in 1998. So, yes.
A little while.
26 years, yeah.
And what's the most challenging aspect you've found over the last however many years?
Running the business has always been the diary.
Okay.
Always been the diary. Just trying to get people. We know the client base is that big now. You know what I mean? In such a small area, it's quite easy to do it. But before, when you were covering sort of like from Essex up to Yorkshire, and then from Northern Ireland over to Saltfleet Bay on the east coast, you know what I mean? That's it.
Trying to do it as efficiently as possible.
Now I've sort of consolidated my area, if you like, sort of like Staffordshire, well, South Staffs really, in Shropshire, and a little bit in Warwickshire. I mean, it's quite easy then to run your diary. I mean, it's very much based on postcodes. And when you can get 3 postcodes that are 1 digit off each other at the end, that makes my day.
Try and get them all in.
That's like postcode bingo.
Well, that's it, isn't it? And I think that's something we've talked about before, saying with your job, you look at how much it is for treating the horse. People forget you've got to factor in all your travel time and your expenses. You're not charging them mileage, are you? So works both ways. You need to be as efficient as possible so that you're not wasting that travel time.
Are there any common pitfalls in equine dentistry? Am I allowed to call it equine dentistry? But you're not a dentist, are you?
No.
We have to say dental technician, is that correct? Sorry about that. What are there any common pitfalls in equine dentistry that you would warn newcomers about?
We're assuming that they're good newcomers that are going to probably qualify. Don't have any tips on how to stay under the radar if you're
you just got to become a member of the association. You know what I mean? Because being a member of the association gives the client confidence, because we have to be insured.
I was going to say, I assume that some of the people that are not regulated struggle to get insurance.
I'm not sure if they struggle, but I'm not sure if there's any claims ever been made against them.
Oh, okay, so they're probably not insured.
So all our members are fully insured. All up to date on our CPD. We have to do so much CPD a year, and we've all passed the exam. We've all, you know what I mean. And every 3 years we're reassessed as well.
And that leads on to the next question, really, which we were going to talk about, which was how do you keep yourself up to date with current trends and
it's all the,
what have you? Is that through the association?
Yeah, all through the association, your CPD. There's a lot more of the webinars going on now as well.
There is all round, isn't
yeah,
there?
yeah, that's it. A lot of them from Europe as well, France and Germany, which is really good. You know, I mean, the Germans are really good at equine dentistry now.
If you were to look back on your journey, and I know it's been quite colourful, starting with fish and a bit of fixing cars in there and holding a few horses, is there anything that you would change in your history to how you've got to where you've got if you knew what you knew now?
I'm not sure, I might have started a bit earlier, I think. Not really. I think I would have probably jumped onto the equipment side more, I think.
Rather than struggling away
yeah, definitely.
manual tools.
Yeah.
Do you still do a lot of hand rasping versus machine rasping?
Both, well, power as we can.
Power
tools. I'm getting a bit older. I am doing a lot more with the power, but I probably do about 90% by hand. Now I'm getting on a bit. I'm probably doing about 50% by hand. You know what I mean?
Look smart, not
Yeah.
hard.
And you've got to think of your longevity in the job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very physical if you're doing it by hand. You know what I mean?
I was going to ask about that because again, comparing to farriers, it's not a long-lived job because of the manual side of it.
Yeah.
I suppose you're still handling horses,
It's
aren't
just,
you?
exactly. Yeah, farrier's not very good because you're bent over. We get more pulled up.
What's the most rewarding part of your job, and is there any specific case that sort of stands out that you've dealt with that you think, that was quite rewarding?
Yeah, I think over the years there's been that many. You know what I mean? It's especially in the early days when you used to see the horrific mouths. You know what I mean? Like a 13-year-old that have never been touched and they're all overshot and they've got huge overgrowths on the back and huge overgrowths at the front and the incisors are too long. Putting something like that, what we call like a bit of a car crash, putting that something right, and then watching that progress, you know, and then you watching it, because obviously all the tension in the jaw's gone, and then they start riding it better. They get yourself in, you know what I mean, and you watch the progression of the horse. That's I like that. That's good.
Do you have quite a lot of crossover then working with other professionals?
Yeah, a little bit, not too much. You know what I mean? But I'll always get the old Genevieve's been out. Oh, she says it's a bit sensitive.
She said get the dentist. Turned its bum, we will get the dentist.
I certainly, if there's ever been any that I'm working on where I have a concern over, and it's usually older horses, and from my perspective we see a lot less of it. So overall education is a lot better. You see a lot of these horrendous old pullback injuries. You know, people used to leave a horse chained to a tree and learn to tie up like that.
Yeah.
The trauma around the upper neck was massive. But, you know, I will get called to some slightly more mature horses, or horses that we suspect have like TMJ issues, upper cervical issues. And I'll leave that as a point to make. Like, just make sure that you communicate this to your dental tech or your vet, that because you've still got a job to do, but you can minimise the repercussions of it by like keeping the gag not too open, regular breaks, which still happens. Like, because every now and then I'll speak to a client and they'll go, yeah, well, we had the vet to come and I'm not throwing the vet under the. We had somebody to come and do the horse's teeth. And he wasn't eating right afterwards, and he's doing this, that and the other, and I'm like, how long did they have the gag open for? And they said, about an hour. I'm like, an hour?
You stand there with your mouth
an hour?
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm like, what? So just communicating these little things can, you know, help the client to help their horse the best, and that's why I've really found it helpful using something like Equigate. So again, to avoid being misquoted, because you can say one thing to a client, you say one thing and they hear something slightly different.
Yeah, because they can go, they said the vet was cruel, they left it there for an hour. The vet gets sued off gently. Just keeping that kind of clear communication. Or to even just point out, look, this horse is normally
isn't reactive around the TMJ, but was really reactive this time.
Yeah.
You know, see what you think, and if you then find a big
Find
thing
it,
that
yeah.
like is in line, then
Yeah.
that helps them. And if you like know the teeth are fine, then you know it needs to go and see the vet for that.
Yeah.
So I think from my perspective, it is like push and pull. Like
Yeah.
we both have to be all on the same page, which is again why I think. You know,
Because
sometimes
you can't fix everything, so you need to
Or even if something is, they have you out to look at its back and everything else, it's all a bit tight, gets all loosened up, and I come in and it decides to back itself into the corner. I think that's the wrong way around. Get its teeth done first.
Yeah.
And then get the other practitioner, because he's just I don't know.
Yeah. I think the thing with all of this is, I think with our bodies, you know, if you've got bad teeth, you go to a dentist. If you've got a bad back, you go to the osteopath or the chiropractor. If you've got problems with your feet, you go to a chiropodist. You don't take all of these problems to the doctor and expect them to fix it all. And I think, you know, we are looking at getting some vets on here. The pressure that vets are under to be like a one-stop
Master
shop.
of
They've
all,
got to be like like an oncologist, a radiologist, a maxillofacial. They're expected to be everything, which they can't be. So I think it is just all about a bit of teamwork, isn't it?
On a lighter note, have you got any memorable moments of interesting things or anything that's gone wrong? Any good stories?
I've got lots of good stories.
Any that you can share?
There was a couple that I do remember working over in, it was up in Yorkshire, and we were on I got an apprentice called Alex Jessie then, and we were on a Pirelli yard, and we had certain people there, a certain demographic, and these Alex comes out the stable absolutely bent over in bits, tears streaming out of his eyes with his bucket carrying it. I said, what's the matter with you, what's happened? He said, you wouldn't believe this. So I went in and put the head collar on, and the horse just lifted its head up a little bit like this. I said, the woman looked round, and the owner's in the corner, and she's bent down in the corner. She said, are you alright? She says, yes, if he sees me do it, he'll do it as well.
Oh, for God's sake. And was it working?
No. Alex says, you spent the whole time crouched in the corner.
I'd have been impressed if it didn't work.
I mean, that would have been pretty good.
That's a bond.
Where do you see the future of equine dentistry in the next few years?
Very much a referral for advanced veterinary dentists, very much.
So almost like a triage, like you guys go first and
Definitely. We will still be the. I think equine dental technicians will still be horses' primary dental care providers, definitely. Because I don't think they'll get rid of us. Because I think we're growing. When we started off in 2001, I think there's seven members. You know what I mean? And we've progressed now to over 150.
Right.
It doesn't sound a lot. You know what I mean? But
It is from where you started.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to sit the first exam up in Edinburgh, which was a tremendous thing. And you had your theory exam, which I got 2 weeks' notice about the exam. So I sat the theory, and you sit the practical in the afternoon, and somebody the opposite way around. And I think there was 7 or 8 of us. And little Professor Paddy Dixon comes out, who's a cracking bloke, and comes out and says, hey guys, he said, I'd like to tell you all, he says, you've all passed the exam, well done, and you better take yourself off in that room over there and make yourselves a little club.
Oh, okay.
And this club went on to be the AAT.
So you were a founder.
Yeah, found a member back
There
in
you
the day.
go.
I knew you were a big deal.
What does it comprise of then? Is it like a committee base?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we've got 6, 7 on the committee. Yeah. So I've been on the committee twice now, which is good. I thought we were going to get the legislation was going to go through. I think 5, 6 years ago. So I got on the committee again. I thought this would be great. I'll be on the committee again for when it gets through.
Yeah.
And then that was when Brexit came in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was it. And then Brexit just went out the window. Then funding for everything just went. You know what I mean? So So we're still waiting, it'll come one day.
But like I said, there's perhaps a bit of a block as well if it's not an official apprentice route and things because of the funding side of it for training. So there needs to be some change, doesn't there?
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
Like you say, I think vets can't do everything, so I think it's important really.
I think the rewriting of the Veterinary Act, because that needs looking at, that hasn't been touched since 1966. So I think they're making a lot of changes to that.
God, it's completely changed since then, hasn't it? Yeah.
The whole landscape's changed.
And a lot for complementary practitioners such as ourselves. You know what I mean? That even down to the cow hoof trimmers, they'll be under the same banding as well.
Never even thought of that that's a job.
Yeah. I'm not sure that I did a sheep worm as a job as well, but I'm not sure if that's an actual job or not.
There you go.
What about the cute ladies that get the
willy washers.
Yeah.
The bean ladies.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
And finally, Matt, are there any emerging trends or technologies in the industry that excite you? Other than Equigate, of course, which you are going to give it a try to.
Yeah, I am. Trends or technologies? Not really. It's come on a lot, you know what I mean, when probably 2003, 2004, we've come on a lot since then. I mean, in what we were using and the electrical equipment, the power equipment, if you like, that's come on leaps and bounds since I started. I'm not sure if that can go any more. There are probably slight small advances to that. I mean, when I started, it was great big massive carbide burrs, and if you wanted a horse to use the electric on it, it had to be sedated. You know what I mean? Because these great big carbide burrs that rip a hole in your hand if you touched it. But what we use now is diamond chip now, which doesn't know no soft tissue damage at all. You know what I mean? But you put that on your nail and it leaks through anything hard. But the soft tissue, you won't touch it at all.
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good. I remember when we started it, you used to get a cover for these burrs. You know what I mean? The carbide ones, and the only ones you get were from the States. And they were like $199 each for these, and you needed like 3 of these. Well, back in the day, from my mechanic days, you used to be able to get these little silver sleeves you used to put on the end of your exhaust to make it look like a chrome exhaust, so I could bling your car a bit. Well, I remember these, and they come in different diameters.
Oh, so you made your own.
I made my own guards actually.
See, there you go, your previous experience.
That's
exactly.
It all came in handy.
Just one last one from me. And this is a really controversial one, I suppose. What's your views with bitting? Do you think people overbit and use complicated bits that cause trouble? Because I'm very much like snaffle or Pelham, don't try all the fancy stuff anymore. But what are your views?
That is a lot more on trend now as well, for especially bit fitters and stuff like that. They've all got the place, definitely. But I do think people get a bit overcomplicated with it sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Almost like they're looking for an excuse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, if it keeps doing that with its mouth or keeps doing chomping on the one side, is it the bit really?
Yeah, you're gonna fix it by
if you
putting
check
some
the hock
fancy bit
back here, and on the opposite diagonal, you know what I mean? Are you looking at the full picture, or are you just want to chuck something else in its mouth so it stops playing with it?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one, because I do think people try and fix things with all these fancy bits and.
When the last qualification I did at the Vlugen Institute, we were looking at the
Very fancy.
Yes.
the stromatic system, which is basically the link of all of the systems and structures that link to the TMJ. And dysfunction in any of those can offset how the jaw functions.
Yeah.
So you can have dysfunction anywhere else in the body and it affects how the TMJ functions.
Yeah.
All of the fascia on the body is superficial fascia, essentially inserts on like one of the tiny little bones of the skull here, which interacts with the TMJ. Yeah. So and then you've got the hyoid, which attaches to all of the viscera. So if you've got visceral problems or all of the rest of it, then you can quite easily see how you've got TMJ dysfunction. One thing that I have noticed, and so I did my first cranial training years and years ago with an American lady, and she mentioned that in America, the medication and interaction with the TMJ from a veterinary perspective is much more prevalent. You take a horse to have its hocks medicated and they'll do its TMJ at the same time.
Yeah.
And having spoken to other vets that I've met as I've travelled, they're like, yeah, of course, because the TMJ is always working. TMJ is always working. I think that's a bit of a simplification of it, but you understand. Whereas everyone is much slower here, and I've chatted to a couple of vets that are dentists, dental vets.
You've been
and they suggested, I think, because it's quite difficult to investigate the TMJ. It's not straightforward. You need like almost a specialist place to go to.
Yeah.
But I have noticed over time, if I left on a report or a referral that there is pronounced TMJ dysfunction, you've got muscle wastage, jaw mobility issues, then I think the vets are quicker to. I don't know whether you might ever notice that.
TMJ medicated, I've only got probably 25 or 30 books that have had any sort of TMJ medicated. I think I've got some books I'd like to have their TMJ medicated, or even looked at a bit further. You know what I mean? Definitely. But like you said, that everything's linked, even down to its growing the size of its feet. You know what I mean? Down to how it eats.
They suggested that this was at the Blue, and there's some research being done currently in America. I want to say it's in Florida with they're looking at hoof balance angles and measuring teeth angles, and they're literally linked. Like they mirror like the percentage difference. That's a terrible misquote, but there is research being done between foot balance and tooth balance.
Definitely.
Which then, when you look at it, you're like, well, yeah, of course, because it's all linked.
I think 2003. I think I had a lecture at the International Association in Florida. She was a vet, and she was a chiropractic acupuncture vet from the States, and she did a 2.5-hour lecture on how unilateral dental problems led to unilateral feet.
Right.
Definitely. It's all down to the leading foot.
Yeah.
I mean, everything we're balanced when we chew our food. You know what I mean? If you've got a problem on one side of your mouth, you automatically chew on the other side.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you'll tilt your head when you do it. It's all automatic. And horses, when they eat naturally, they have 1 foot forward, mouth for grass, have a look up. Anything chasing me? No, I'm alright. Other foot forward, mouth for grass, look up. Anything chasing me? No, I'm alright. You've got one-sided problem, they'll always eat on one side. So, foot forward, have a look up. Well, mouth for grass, look up, nothing chasing me, eat that, and they'll go 2 feet. They'll always have the same weight-bearing foot because they're chewing on the opposite side.
So rather than the didactic chewing, you end up with like a...
Yeah, that's it. Basically, it's all just chewing on one side, one weight-bearing foot, one constant weight-bearing foot. Weight-bearing, more blood circulation, more horn growth.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Laterality in a nutshell.
2.5 hours of lecture that was.
Good synopsis.
Yeah.
Right, I know we've kept you for a while, Matt, so one question that we do ask everybody is, what's the best piece of business advice you've ever been given?
Best piece of business advice. Know your limitations.
Yeah, that's
really good. Keep the clients happy. Yeah, definitely just keep the clients happy.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're doing that from when we asked you about the grumbling clients. You haven't got any examples.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My clients are perfect.
Thanks ever so much for coming along.
It's a really interesting chat.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.